to the Brown Paper Bag series. I am with your co-host, Mr. Kola.
Thank you. And I'm here with your host, Mr. Brandon Lewis.
And today we have Shekema Silveri here with us, and she's going to talk about her career in education, some of the work that she's done with nonprofit. She's also a minister. She's a cancer survivor, and so she has just a lot of things that we're going to try to uncover within our 30-minute segment. I hope you enjoy.
Let's see what's in the bag.
Okay. Okay.
Today.
Infinity.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That must be yours. That must be your word.
Mine.
Okay, so pretty much anybody can jump in, and we're going to talk up to around a minute to describe
Ladies
infinity.
first.
Okay, so when I say infinity, I think of legacy. And I think of, that in the African tradition, you're not dead unless someone stops calling your name. And so when we leave our legacy, it is for our children, but it's also for our descendants from here to infinity. But if you do something worthwhile, if you do something that's worthy enough for this universe to continue to speak your name, I think then that's when you fulfilled your call.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
I don't even know how to follow that up.
Let me do it then. Let me jump in. Let me just get mine out of the way. Yeah, because it kind of piggybacks off of Miss Silveri. I'd say when I think of the word infinity, I think about the legacy, the lasting impression, something like your spirit that's forever, and it's boundless, right? And it's this thing to where, like, no matter what, when I'm dead and gone, I still would have made some type of impact on the earth because I was here. So the good deeds that I've done, some of the things that I've done that I would like to correct in my past behavior and things like that, but all of that left some type of mark, right? I may have left a mark on somebody else, and they told that story to someone. So now my name is passing on or whatnot. That's why I try to do good for everybody. If I've done you wrong, accept my humble apology right now. Since you're talking about since you're talking about infinity. But yeah, it's just this. And another thing I like to add to that that's a little different is this idea of education. I think that's boundless. And I think that's something that you're learning, and the more things that you learn and pass it to someone else, that knowledge base is forever.
It's hard to follow both of them.
That's all
I just
because that's what education is. Yeah. We are, you think about that in the Matrix where they were liquefying the dead to feed the young, but that's what we do. Yeah. That's what education is. Yeah. It's this process of continuously feeding old dead people to the next generation of people.
That's so dope.
And so this right here that you're doing, this is a part of your infinity.
Yeah.
This is your mark. And so even after you're gone, you've left this footprint that you were here. This is your archive.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I see the word infinity, the first thing that popped in my mind is like an endless amount of something. So I take that as an endless amount of everything. So for me personally, infinity is like, for myself personally, is like, there's no limit to what I can do. There's no limit to the knowledge I can gain. There's no limit to the amount of people I can inspire and the ways I can inspire them. I like to relate that to how many people feel like you have to do one thing, you have to be in a box to define yourself. I feel like there should be no limit to how you define yourself or how you can be defined. And then it relates to what both of y'all said. And y'all said it great, so I'm not even going to repeat it.
I love
That's
it.
my piece.
You did a great job. Great way to close it out. And thank you for everyone sharing their ideas about infinity, which is probably something hard to define because it encompasses so much. So again, we're here today with Miss Shekema Silveri. She's the Milken National Award winner. I think I said that correctly.
You did.
So she'll tell us a little bit about that later on. But she's done so many great things and continuing to inspire our youth. And I've met her a number of times, different educational conferences, and I think her spirit, her smile, and her intellect is contagious to everyone that she meets. So with that, we're going to start with Kola-Adetola's first question.
So first of all, it's a pleasure. Welcome to the show.
Likewise, thank you.
Just a little bit of talking to you, I'm getting a sense of so much, and I'm intrigued by that. I love seeing a strong black woman who has been through a lot, but also is a part of so many things. So can you give us a background of a majority of things you do, or where you found yourself in the beginning to where you are now?
Okay, so I'll start, and I think the beginning is recursive too. I have been on my own since I was 14 years old. So my mother had me when she was 16. And my grandmother pretty much raised me. So I was either with my mother or with my grandmother, either the school year or the summer. And then finally when I was 9, my grandmother, she took me. And then my grandmother got sick when I was 12, and she passed away when I was 14. So that began a lot of From the time that she got sick when I was 12, that started a firestorm of things happening in my life. So that there was some abuse, physical and sexual at that time. And to me, that's my beginning, because you can't get rid of those things. You can overcome those things, but it always shapes who you are. And so my first program immediately after undergrad was a program called Rachel's Daughters, and it was a teen pregnancy prevention program. And I did an after-school program with Atlanta Public Housing for girls 12 to 18. I was at Grady Homes when it was still in existence, and they gave me an empty apartment, and they turned it into the after-school program.
Wow.
And I had no idea what I was doing, but somebody thought, this is great, give her the kids. And I did that for a couple of years, and I ended up having 3 different sites. Just a dream.
Wow.
Just a dream. And but I knew that I wanted to make more of an impact than I could with just a few girls that I had after school. And so that's how I became a teacher. I had a degree in English, and I'm like, what are you going to do with that? So I started teaching, and I went back to school, and I did my master's program. And my classroom in Clayton County was my practicum. So I did my student teaching as a teacher. I didn't do it like in somebody else's classroom. And that first year, I had 11th grade, and that's where they take all their testing. So I cut my teeth, with that year. And I knew that I loved it, And I think that, years later, it translated to me winning the Milken Educator Award. And I had 100% pass rate on all my standardized tests. But my kids superseded everyone else's test scores. So there were only 11 of us in the state that year that had scores similar to mine. I had 3 C's, 2 B's, and everybody else made an A. And that was in Clayton County, 85% free reduced lunch, and it just, how does this happen? But I have been doing it. You're excellent on your level, and you don't do it for somebody to notice you, but if you do it, somebody will notice you. And that's just kind of how it is. I was a gifted teacher, but then I ended up getting an ESL endorsement too, because I had kids who wanted to take AP literature, but they had a language barrier, not an intellect barrier. So I got that. So I had kids who couldn't speak English, but they were still sitting in AP Lit.
Wow.
And it's just about giving kids the opportunity. It's even if you don't get it all, you're going to get something. Even if you just soak up all this love. Even if you just soak up all of this, somebody believing in you, it'll just change your whole trajectory. And so that's kind of what I want to do with the school that I'm starting now. Everybody deserves to have that kind of education. Not just the kids in my class. My kids that were sitting in Clayton County were taking Intro to Literary Theory with Dr. Paul Fry at Yale University. We would use open educational resources. And some days I would teach, some days Dr. Fry would teach. And so when my kids wrote their, AP Lit essays, they were talking about epistemological stances.
Wow. And we'll have to get into what that is. Yeah. Kola, did you want to have your follow-up? I'm ready to get in.
Yeah. That's amazing.
It is.
Follow-up question to that will be, what are some of the struggles and barriers you had to face to get to the point of being comfortable teaching and being comfortable in a position you've gained now?
So I think initially the babies, and they all call me mama, so I call them my babies.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are not familiar with love, and they bristle at it. It's not that they're angry at you. It's just that they're not familiar with what love is. And some of my students, one of my students, she told a story. I gave a keynote at the Virginia Association of Teachers of English in October, and she's a graduate of Hampton. She's graduated from Hampton, and she came and she said, this lady, we thought she was crazy because on the first day of class, she had 3 slides. One of them was the name of the class, one of them was her name, and the last one said, I love you. And she said, we were like, we got to get out of here. Like, who says that? But then she said, but she knew I meant it. And by the end, they tell each other they love each other. Love makes things grow. It just makes things grow. And I think that it's an energy, it's that infinity that we're talking about. It's something that you can never give enough of, and it's something that you can never have enough of. The more you produce, the more the world needs. And it's just like this constant pulling and giving and pulling and giving. And I think that's the hardest thing. The kids bristle at that because they don't understand it. And if you think about so many people who come in as wounded spirits, they're almost afraid to let you love them like that. Mm-hmm. Because what do I do when you're no longer there? Everybody else that said they love me, they left me. So are you sure that you're going to stay this time? And when I open myself up and I become vulnerable to you, can I trust you with me? And I think for real learning to take place, it has to be raw and vulnerable and open. And it has to be this place where when you come to class today, if you just can't deal, then I'll let you go outside and play in the yard. You know, you could be a senior, but sometimes they come in and they're just so full of just life, and you can feel it. And it's like, why would you try to pour something else on top of that? Just let them cry.
I have so much to say right now, because you know this is like so passionate. Now we're talking about education
I wanted to
and
change it up.
different philosophical like sort of ways of looking at education. I wish more people thought about you, thought like you. Excuse me. You know, and then you were talking about the standardized testing, and I wanted to ask you about high stakes testing. There's so many different ways I want to go with it. I wanted to ask you, what does love mean? You know, because you were describing it, and I actually asked that to a lot of people. And so you've brought out a lot. But before we try to even unpack some of that, I want to keep moving forward, because one thing I definitely want to talk to you about while we have the time is the school that you're opening. August. In August with partners. So tell us a little bit about it, the mission of the school. Why did you decide to open up a school in the community? Are there particular students that you're targeting? I want to give you a free reign just to kind of let us know, let the world know. Tell us about the school.
So the mission of Ife Academy, plain and simple.
What's the name of it?
Ife.
Ife Academy.
Ife Academy, and Ife is a Yoruban word for love.
Okay.
So love is big for me. But it also is the acronym for Inspiring Future Educators. That's what we want to do. That's plain and simple, our mission, to inspire future educators. So we really believe in teaching students from K through 12 the value of education, but the value of teaching, so that we can come back, and if they don't decide to open their own schools one day, at least they can begin to infiltrate the public school system. And so wait until people come to undergrad, or wait until people come to a master's program, you know, they decided this is my second career, I just want to teach.
Correct.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Honestly. You know, when I was in a traditional classroom, my students taught. They learned, you know, pedagogy, andragogy, because the seniors are more like adults. So they taught, you know, and when we planned the Black History Assembly, they did a 2-week teach-in prior to the assembly, so they could prepare the hearts and the minds of the people. You know, and they knew lesson planning, and they knew unit planning, and they knew, you know, how to design a curriculum from, you know, backwards design. So all those things are important. But I tell you what it does, though. Not only does it empower the students, because they for the first time know how and why they learn the way they learn, it makes everybody in the building step their game up. Because when a kid can look at you and say, now, you know, that mini lesson was not right. What are you going to do? And so that's the importance of it. So whether a kid, you know, stays with us for the duration, which we hope they do, we hope it's a real, you know, cradle to college or cradle to career system. But they'll go, you know, somewhere else empowered to know what they deserve as a learner, and to know, you know, I didn't get that like that. I'm more of a kinesthetic learner. Can we do this instead? Getting kids to think like that while they're sitting in the seat, that raises the bar for everybody in the building. And so you don't have to necessarily worry about changing teachers' hearts and minds. Teach it to the kids and watch what happens.
And I wanted to ask you, in opening the school, what have been some of the struggles, right, the challenges? And I also wanted to ask you, what type of teachers do you look for? Because everybody has their own personality. And my question was going to be, what is the perfect teacher? But you know, even within that idea, I think the perfect teacher includes imperfection, because you learn from those mistakes, you learn from those things and continue. So there's so many places I want to go with it, but I guess I want to know, sort of like, if I would come into your school and I was applying, what would you want to see in me as an educator in Ife Academy? Ife Academy.
So I want to see it as, I want you to be somebody who sees education as nation building. You know, I want you to see yourself as a part of this kingdom that we're building here. I want you to see yourself as a revolutionary.
Oh, that's a scary word now. I love it.
But that's what it is.
Right.
Like, I want you to see yourself as you're going to be a conductor on this Underground Railroad.
Absolutely. So
do you see what you're doing is liberating these kids? If that's not what you're here for, you can go somewhere else. And when you talked about what is love, love means me simply letting you be who you are, and saying, no matter who you are, how you be, come to me. I got you. You know, and we can be together collectively, like who you are and who you are. You know, my students, we used to do this poem, "You Are My Other Me," and it was the whole Mayan concept of, it was a poem called In Lakesh, and it says, you are my other me. If I love and protect you, then I love and protect myself. If I do harm to you, then I do harm to myself. And really, that's all love is. Just knowing that what I want for you, I also want for me. Not anything different. Whatever it takes to make me feel fulfilled and happy and at peace, why can't I give the same thing for you? Doesn't have to be the same thing. But whatever it is, I got you. And those are the kind of teachers that I want. By any means necessary. If you got to pay a light bill, pay it. Don't have a kid writing by candlelight trying to turn in their senior thesis. Don't do that. If you have to buy a prom dress, buy the prom dress. Just come tell somebody, hey, I had to write a check for a prom dress. If you have to buy groceries or milk or whatever it is, diapers, do it. Because guess what? I've done it. And that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
We are, therefore I am. I love it. And the reason why I kind of freaked out with the revolutionary thing, because we're talking about education, those words, they are misunderstood in many ways. That's exactly what we need.
Yeah.
What's wrong with radicals? What's wrong with changing the script? Cola,
right.
it's on you. My bad, don't get me started.
What is your inspiration for love? I'm getting a lot of, like you said, you're a loving person, and love is the foundation of who you are. I'm the same way. So I'm curious to know, what is your foundation of love? What is inspiring you to want others to inspire to love as well?
So I think part of it is just my journey as a Christian, that God's love is so overwhelming. And I don't think you even have to be a Christian to understand that. When I minister to people, I don't just use the Bible. I use anything that speaks to the hearts of people. So sometimes I might come in there and quote something from, the Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes I might come in there and quote something, it just depends on what it is that reaches the hearts of people. And I think that God, his love is so just all encompassing and so insurmountable. And it's just, how can you feel that? Because I've been so low. I made so many mistakes and I've been so low. And just to have him say, but I can still use you. I can still use you. And everything that you've gone through, every mistake that you made, that was also a part of the process. If you're willing to open yourself up and be vulnerable and share it with somebody else, your mess can help heal somebody else. And so, the love of Jesus, and that's why a lot of people resonate with that. Not necessarily the church, but the love of Jesus. And it was revolutionary in its nature. Because for the first time, somebody said, I see you just like you are, and I still love you. I see you in the middle of your mess, not after you get up, but I'm going to come find you in the middle of your mess, and I'm going to say, I see you. And not only do I see you, but I know that that's not you. There's something on the inside. And if I love you right, I bet I can pull it out. And that's what it is for me. And, I really, for me, the whole, Che Guevara said that revolution is inspired by love. It's not hate. It's inspired by love. You love the people that you see hurting so much that you're willing to give your very life to set them free. That's love. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And so that's what we have to do in this journey that we're in. Not just teachers, everybody. How would this world be different if everybody just said, you know what, I'm just going to love you. There's enough for everybody. Me being me does not diminish you. You being you does not diminish me. You being you does not diminish either one of us. But if we work together and just love each other, what could we accomplish?
Last week we talked a little bit about charter schools. I would love to hear a little bit more about sort of your insight on charter schools, voucher system, because the topic that came up was Betsy DeVos. And so I kind of wanted to hear a little bit, I wanted to hear a little bit more about that, but I'll leave that up to you whether you want to explore that. But the overall question that I have is, because of what you've gone through with being a third-year cancer survivor,
Yes.
right? And the things that you spoke of as a young kid, and this passion that you've had, that's continuing to last. Where do you see education sort of headed? Where is it going, right? And then, what is a particular thing that you want to sort of fix within? I'm going to put it into a black context or urban context within urban schools. I know you have experience. You said Clayton County, right?
Yeah.
So where are we headed with education, and what are some things that you would like to see improved upon? Because urban schools are great. We're doing a great job. We're still in the fight. There are things that, as with all things, there's things that could be addressed. Can you fix those? Can you speak to those two things?
Yeah. So charter schools. So before cancer, I left Clayton County and I went to go work for the Georgia Charter Schools Association. And when I was in there, I felt like I was getting counterintelligence. And I started to see that the equality amongst charter schools is simply, it's in law only. And so here we are again, and it's like Brown never happened. So they'll let you get open because they can't stop you from opening. That's illegal. But once you get there, what support systems are in place to help keep you there? versus the support systems that are in place for others. So if you look at the number of black charter schools closing as opposed to other charter schools, you'll see there's a huge disparity. And so, initially at Fay Academy, we applied for a charter in 2015, and we met Georgia at the interview table. And they couldn't believe that Dr. Stephanie Gold is my co-founder, these two black women, and this team of black people, you're gonna do what with what kids?
Right.
In what neighborhood? And so they said, no, we're not really sure. But what they did do was call us back later. Stephanie and I had a private interview with us and went through our petition and said, we really want you guys to come back. You were so close, just apply again. Next year we're gonna make the charter school petition based on the way you submitted.
Meaning?
So they changed the application for charter schools based on the petition that we submitted.
Oh, wow.
We included things that they hadn't even thought about.
Wow.
So it's just that kind of, Georgia's not ready for certain things.
Right.
And so charter, for me, I wouldn't advise people of color to do charter. However, given the climate of our current administration, vouchers are coming. And so while Fay Academy is not public or private, we're doing the Marva Collins thing, where it's like, if I take your money, you get to tell me what to do. So we're trying to raise scholarship money so that parents don't have to pay out of pocket. But, with money comes control. Right. And so once you start taking people's money, they get to dictate a lot of things, and you become dependent on that money. If you give me a grant or you give me this much money, and if I need it to function, then next year I'm building it into my budget. Eventually, it becomes second nature for me to start. But if I start on my own, and I'm clear that if we don't do this, it doesn't exist, right, then it just changes the way we do things. But vouchers will begin to come, and so schools like Fay Academy will begin to be able to accept those students that have, because that's coming. And so we can either keep fighting against it up here and watching it manifest out here and not being prepared.
Yeah.
But listen, it's coming. And so what Thurgood Marshall and Spotswood Robinson and Charles Houston and all those people did with Brown, it wasn't that they were against having black people have their own schools. They just wanted us to have equality.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right.
Integration was a byproduct of that.
Exactly.
And I think it harmed us way more than anything else. But during the time period that Virginia closed its schools down, you had Reverend Griffith and people like that creating schools like Fay Academy. And they were saying, we're not absolving, the public school system from educating our kids. But while you're playing,
right,
you're up here doing this.
Right.
Because somebody's going to teach these babies. And so that's what Fay Academy is about.
So I just want to say, wow. Right? That was absolutely a great conversation, and I hated to cut it off. There are so many things that you stated that I wanted to continue to go into, and so that means that we have to have you back. All right, and thank you so much for just even coming, Ms. Shekema Silveri, and just giving us so much insight on a wide variety of things. I wanted to just kind of say real quick, or make a request, if you could just, how can people get in contact with you? Because we didn't even talk about your radio station. We didn't talk about the sanctuary, right? So, can you tell us just how people can get in contact with you, where your school will be located, if somebody wants to, maybe.
You said it's opening in August.
August 2017.
Right.
Yes, and we are currently enrolling K through 12.
Right. It's located where?
We're going to have a site in Conyers and a site in South Fulton.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's going to be a micro school. We're never going to take more than 25 students in one building, and that's we're going the original setting of education, kind of almost like Montessori, where you have a mixture of grade levels, but they're more or less based upon their experiences and their abilities. So old school.
And how do people get in contact with you and your partner?
So the website for the school is www.myfeacademy.org. On Instagram and Facebook, the school is at MyFA Academy, so that's easy, and Twitter. For me personally, you can reach me at Silveri, SSILVERI, at myfaacademy.org, and then Shekema Silveri, which is SHEKEMASILV is in Victor, ERI, and that's on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Sounds like you've done that before.
I'm like, he's done it many times. So this is a segment where we like to introduce the book of the week that our guest has, and luckily today we have a guest who has written some books. So what is your book of the week that you recommend?
So this book, and you can get it on Amazon, by the way. Go to my author's page, Shekema Silveri. It's called Something Within Me, My Journey from Wounded to Warrior of Light. And this book
When did you write it first of all?
Okay,
Uh,
so last Thanksgiving, I sat on the couch and I cried and I wrote it 5 days.
You wrote it in 5 days.
5 days.
Last thing.
She was there. My daughter was there.
Did you cry with it?
No.
I'll cry when
I almost cried when I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, there are, so I'll give you some of the chapters. So 1 is Inception. Chapter 2 is The Breaking. Chapter 3 is Exit Strategy. Chapter 4 is Prayers. Chapter 5 is Call Me Mama, and it's talking about some of my classroom experiences. So one part is emancipatory pedagogy, and the other one is teaching is nation building. Chapter 6 is Preacher Woman. Chapter 7 is devotionals and Bible studies that I've written. And then chapter 8 is A New Day. So
It's all in one.
yeah. And so I have a quote at the beginning of each chapter. And chapter 1 is Dante Alighieri, and it says, "Remember tonight, for it is the beginning of always." And that was the first quote for when I started to write this book.
you are absolutely amazing.
Thank you. And
Yes.
so each chapter is a little bit about me and who I am, because a lot of people are like, "You do all that?" Yes, I do. And so at the beginning of each chapter, it's talking about how I became that woman. Everybody knows me in different ways. And so, yeah,
Thank you so much.
I'm delighted to be here, y'all.
Thank you so
Pleasure,
much.
sorry. I'm
And
giving you a whole
Thank you.
pleasure. Love you too.
I love y'all.
and since there's no like sex discrimination, we always shake hands as well. so
Okay,
much-
okay.
Yeah, all right. There you go. All right. Thank you again for another
Tune in
week of
next
the
week.
Brown Paper Bag.